So basically how FiliBUSTED works is we always talk about, you know, a popular topic that's out there, and to get some different opinions on it. And today what we're going to discuss is one that is somewhat of a heated topic, but also very, you know, common, is the argument of diets. And I'm going to focus on veganism / vegetarianism and your regular old standard American diet that involves meat and bacon and dairy and all that. So a little bit about myself is I am a vegetarian. I was a vegan for 2 years. I switched over to being a vegetarian because I missed yogurt too much. So what I'm going to do is ask some questions, and you guys can just feel free to respond whenever you have an answer.
I promise I didn't do this on purpose.
She's wearing her Clever Girl Jurassic Park shirt, so I know which side she's going already. So we have 30 minutes. I'm going to start throwing some questions at you guys, and we're going to have a lot of fun. So let's get started. All right, so first off is, hold on just a moment. Sorry, a little bit of a technical difficulty there. All right, so first off, like I said, this is a very heated debate, and I'm just going to start off with a general question, like which one do you think is better? It could either be nutrient-wise, ethical-wise. Do you think people should be more vegetarian, vegan, or do you think people should just eat the standard American diet? What are you guys' thoughts? Anybody have any options or opinions?
I guess I can go.
Okay, Andrea, what do you think?
I really don't care either way.
You don't care either way? How do you prefer to eat?
I'm probably the worst person to ask about this because my last boyfriend said I was going to die from malnutrition. So.
You might want to hold your microphone closer.
Closer?
Yeah, because I don't think we can hear you. All right, perfect. Well, thank you, Andrea, for that opinion. Emilie and Naterrius, any thoughts about, like, how do you eat? Do you prefer a different way?
I like meat.
I thought you were going to shock us all and be like, I've been a hardcore vegan for 15 years. Family friendly. You get Dr. Point there.
I like meat. Meat is what? Meat? Man's gotta eat, so give me my meat.
Okay.
I'll work out.
All right, perfect.
That's why we have our things, is to eat meat, so.
Okay. Well, you all know my thoughts. I am a vegetarian. I personally did it for health reasons because I was having some health issues back in high school, and I started eating a vegan diet to reverse it. And like I said, I was vegan for 2 years, and then, you know, now hardcore vegetarian. I haven't had a piece of meat to eat in 10 years, so I started it when I was 16. So that's been a long time. So, all right, we've already got different opinions. I'm loving it. All right. So here's another thing that I wanted to touch on. So there has been a huge trend, I would say within the past like 5-6 years, with the whole vegan, vegetarian, everybody should do it or try it for like 14 days. And I'm really wondering, do you guys think it's because it really is an ethical issue, or do you think it's more because it's like a pop culture trend? Like we're seeing all these things popping up, like celebrities becoming vegans, and then there was with the documentaries like Food Inc. and Forks Over Knives, and everybody like hopped on the bandwagon. They're like, yeah, I'm hardcore vegan for like a week, and then they stopped doing it. So, do you think that this is more of a popularity thing or an ethical thing? Like, what do you think? What are your thoughts on that?
I'm gonna say purely pop culture.
Okay.
And like when these celebrities, I'm vegan, I'm vegetarian. No, fool, you got a movie coming out in about 2 weeks, so you want to get your name out there and get some publicity to make it look like you're this hardcore guy. Then they show like some action photos where you probably got doctored up abs or something like that. And like, no, get off the face with that. Miss us with that.
I agree.
All right.
I would probably say it's a little of both.
Okay.
Because there is an element of hypocrisy in there, because you get people who'll be like, yeah, vegan is totally like cruelty free, and then you get like other reports like, oh, quinoa has gotten so bad in like the countries that it's grown in that like the locals can't actually afford to eat it anymore.
Here's another interesting thing when you brought that up that just led me into another topic, is like with the whole popularity thing, I think it also transitions into these people that are on TV, like, you know, you have Dr. Oz and that guy who's on The Doctors, and I remember like the whole hit health thing was coconut oil, and did anybody see how the big thing that came out was like, oh, don't eat coconut oil, it's going to give you a heart attack? Like, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think people just trust the media too much and like don't do the research?
Well, especially with Dr. Oz, he literally calls things magic pills.
It's like the green magic coffee pill. Yeah, I remember that whole thing.
It's I'm trying to go back. Oh yeah, it's a culture where people don't do their research. We got lazy to where we don't do research. So as soon as somebody, I can come out and say that one of those hot sauces will have you lose 10 pounds in 5 days. And better believe folks will be out there sucking that stuff down like it's crack. And so, the media has a really, it's almost like the media is like, it's got a hypnotic type of pendulum that they hold in front of your face when you turn it on. And people just believe everything they see. Without doing the research. So I'd say just do the research, and then if it works for you, it works for you. If it don't work for you, then go back to eat chicken and fries and ribs and pork chops and.
Well, it's all about balance, right?
There you go.
Balance your diet out with everything else.
Right.
To quote a song, if it's on TV, it's got to be real. I will get fit in a week.
So, I was always told that the TV, I was always called, the TV was always called back when I was a child, it was called the idiot box. Because if you look at it long enough, you will become an idiot. So, I'll leave it there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, I wanted to talk about the ethical dilemma a little bit, and this isn't even in relation to veganism, but I want to talk about the meat eaters over here. The big thing that's out right now is how animals are treated to produce the meat, because everything is mass production, all across the board. I know this one's in this question. So we, in Food Inc., that one wasn't necessarily a documentary about, be vegan, be vegetarian, but it was, and I am all for promoting local businesses, local farmers. Without them, we wouldn't have food, but everybody's saying, it's okay to eat meat, but how was that animal treated? The food you're gonna eat, was it mass production? Were they grass-fed? Were they free-range? And there's a whole thing with chicken, correct me if I'm wrong, the whole thing with don't feed chickens soybeans, they should be eating grass, and don't feed them corn because it affects your health after a while. So thoughts overall on the ethical dilemma with meat eating, the grass-fed and everything. So what are you guys, what do you think about that? Is that too popularized, or do you think that's a whole host too?
I don't think so. I honestly, better? Okay.
Okay, now we can hear you, good job.
Honestly, I'm a meat eater, but the meat that I eat, especially at home with my son, is grass-fed or natural. I kind of feel like the animals themselves are taken better care of. So that way, at least if you're going to eat meat, do it more in a humane way versus, just the factories and stuff like that, as you said before.
Right.
Yeah.
With the whole, with the whole, the treatment thing, as far as how they produced and stuff like that. Look, the meat tastes good when it's on your plate, if you like it. Okay, it may not be a pretty picture of how they got here, but all the same, I'll just say this. When you're eating a steak, okay, a nice T-bone, you look like a T-bone guy on this big. Okay, so there you go. Okay, we got a meat man right here. Okay, he got that meat beard. There you go. Okay. So when you say filet mignon. Okay, now for those who don't know, filet mignon is a very expensive cut. Okay, so you're looking at $15, $20 cut. Now, when that meat is sitting on your plate, are you really worried about how it got there? I don't think
That's
so.
a good point.
I don't think so. When I go to Popeyes, black meat, chicken, okay, give it up. But when I go to Popeyes, do you think I'm worried about how those chickens got there? Not really. I'm worried about, okay, is it done? The crust is nice, it's spicy, it's mild. Where's my red beans and rice and my Sprite? And I'm good.
Well, I would say the major issue is when people talk about the ethical treatment of animals, companies have a total disregard for the ethical treatment of their own people. So it's kind of not that surprising that they would have a total disregard for the animals as well. Because basically companies use and abuse their own employees. You have that scandal with
Yeah, I was going to say, that's a great point.
where Amazon, the guy's one of the richest people in the world, and then he can't pay his employees for bathroom breaks. It's a disregard for the human element, so it doesn't really surprise me there's disregard for the animal element.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. That's a great point.
That's a good point. I'm not going to take away from your side. But I have to agree there that, but I just, like I said, the way I said it is that when I eat, meat, like I said, I believe, I eat meat. So, that's the last thing that I worry about. And I'll share this story. I have to, I'm sorry. I was about 9 years old. My dad's from the country, Okay, he took me out. I was 9. He took me out to his farm, bought a pig. You know, big old sow. She was easily about 6 feet, 5+ feet in length. She's probably about a foot, 2 feet wide. She's very big. Okay, so they tied her up to this little wood post and then shot her. Shot her multiple times, and I'm standing back there like, wow, they killed a turkey. You know, so I'm like really like heartfelt on the treatment that this pig was getting. Now, when after they was finished, they hung her up, sliced her, and then, you know, you see everything within it. And then at that point, I was like, you know, okay, there's my bacon, there's my hams. I mean, it just went from feeling sorry to what I know I'm about to eat and what's about to go in my freezer. So, you know, and now, like I said, I was 9 years old. The type of stuff a 9-year-old, especially today's world, should not see.
It's a different world back then.
Yeah, it was.
That'll be the next podcast. Guess your age.
Yeah.
Based on, does your diet affect the way that you look? That's our next podcast. So we continue. I'm sorry.
Would I win that one?
Maybe.
How old does everyone think I am?
50. No.
She's almost 30.
42.
She's almost 30 years
I was
old.
gonna say 25.
I was going to keep
No.
I was going to say
I was born
Forever
in
young.
1990.
41.
So she's proof that, you know, people are like, eat a vegan diet, you'll look younger. She's proof that, you know, you can eat basically standard American diet and still look like you're 15. So, yeah. I actually have an interesting question leading into what you were talking about. Now we have all these arguments out on the internet, like why you should be vegan, like live longer, you lose weight, it's healthier, your skin gets better, but at the same time there's the dilemma that it's very expensive to eat vegan, like organic foods are really expensive. Buying local is expensive, so a big argument with people is, I can't do it because I can't afford it. Like, do you guys think, like, personally, like, I try to save money by going to local farmers markets and I eat primarily produce and veggies, but, like, the vegan type foods, like here's what argument I have. You can't turn a soybean into meat, like how they have vegetarian deli meat and vegetarian hot dogs. It's so disgusting, and no, it's just like, what are you guys' thoughts on that? It's just like so expensive, it's gross. Has anybody ever tried that type of stuff? Or what are your thoughts on it?
This one, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go for it.
Chain of thought. Let's look at the folks who actually bring this stuff up. These are people that's paid.
Yes.
That's what I was
These are
just
people
about to
that's
say.
paid.
That's
These people
Uh-huh.
that's paid, they rolling in like $70,000, $80,000, $100,000 cars. They got $2 million houses. They can afford to come out there. Yeah, I eat vegan everything. Okay, let me use LeBron James. He's now, I think, going that vegan route or whatnot. But this brother worth about $1 billion. So yeah, of course, if you pay it like that, you can easily say that. Now, I'm gonna keep it real. I don't think anyone here is millionaires. If you do, loan me $10. But I'm gonna just keep it real. You know, go with what you feel you can afford if you want to try that diet. Catch them on sale, coupon clip, however. But I have to tune these celebrities out, you know, when they give that information. Or my friend would always say, consider the source of where it's coming from.
Exactly.
I would probably agree. I do know I did work with a gentleman a long time ago who wanted everyone to essentially go vegan, and I did make the argument, like, growing up, I am from essentially a very poor working class family.
Mm-hmm.
We could never afford crap like that growing up. And he said, well, that's okay, just eat beans and rice. And it's like, well, you wouldn't tell a family just eat beans and rice? He goes, yeah, because it's better for you and it's better for the environment. It's like, there's kind of a disregard and like a pompous nature to it too.
Until you have a 4-year-old child at the table screaming that they don't want to eat beans and rice, then talk to me after that argument. Would your son eat beans and rice for dinner, Emily?
No.
What if they
He's
were
a chicken nugget man.
What if they were in McNugget form and you told them they were McNuggets?
I'm pretty sure he would taste the difference. Back in my days. Unless it was covered in ketchup, then maybe.
Oh, that's
Maybe.
disgusting.
Ask me that question.
Yeah.
With my son, or sons, only one of them.
Can you lean in closer to the mic because
Sorry,
we are
yeah,
recording this.
My
We can't
son
hear you.
eat beans and rice. Yeah, and even if they don't like it, and I'm gonna stare at my son because he's with me today.
No pressure.
Because I'm from that old school raising where you're gonna eat what I put in front of you.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just, I mean, because that's how I was raised. I didn't like okra in my black eyed peas. And I did the Mommy Dearest, if whoever remember that movie where she didn't want to eat that steak and she sat at that table until the lights went out. And then the mom came back down there and like, you know, she was just still sitting there. She took the steak because she didn't like it rare and put it in the fridge. Now, if you've never seen Mommy Dearest, I know I'm telling my age here, but that's a movie, that's a classic, cult classic movie to see and how, I don't guess, child rearing then to now and so forth. But no, in my house, you eat what I put in the plate.
Yeah.
Daddy worked hard.
Yeah.
You gonna eat.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good point. So we've talked about the vegan issue a lot, and like a lot of it, the ethical dilemma, how much it costs, you know, cost effective, should people really do it, you know, like I said, I personally did it for health benefits. I don't recommend it for everybody because not everybody is going to enjoy eating vegetables for the rest of your life. I've been okay with it, but it, like you said earlier, you know, maybe people should give it a try for like a week or so, and if you don't like it, there's no shame in going back to eating meat. So moving into my next question, which is going to spark a good debate, is I need a strong argument as to why you should have meat in your diet. Why should you just eat the regular standard American diet? I want to hear your thoughts on this one. So who wants to go first?
I would probably say there is an element when you do go vegan, you do have to substitute your diet.
Absolutely.
Because humans evolved essentially as omnivores.
Right.
So there is the element of you have to substitute your diet to get the like aminos. What is it, taurine that you substitute?
Yeah, and also you don't get B12 in a vegan diet. That's only found in animal meats. Like I have to take a supplement for that, but that's another thing that is cost effective. There's certain vitamins you don't get that are in a regular diet. You have to buy the supplements for, which can get pricey. So yeah, that's the other one.
Those costs add up too, those supplements.
Oh, they do.
So, yeah.
That's what Costco's for.
Right.
You get your big bottles.
Right.
They last a while.
To add in on that, the meat portion of the diet, protein is one of the biggest things that I look at as far as the meat portion of it. And then of course it's also preparation too. I have basically cut out fried foods out of my diet. I eliminated pork out of my diet especially. So it's mainly chicken, beef, and fish. And so it's more of, and also like I said, the preparation of how I make it and what I side with it as well. So, and then it leads back to where we started at, when we started with the commercials, is the research. Research what you're eating, research what you're putting in your body and how it's going to help your body. Because every bit, like I say, you know, if you're a meat eater, okay, you know, do the research on what you're eating to where you're going to cover all your bases on your nutrients. Because there's lists out there, you know, and I mean, this is the world of Google. I mean, you can Google anything.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Information's there.
right. I mean, today, this is the information. I mean, this is the millennials. This is the information highway decade or generation now. So all your research is there.
Right. The only problem with that is then you get the instance of where false research is presented.
Correct.
To quote that one Google commercial, just because it's there doesn't mean it's true.
Yeah. Right.
Because I remember going along online, there were people who made basically incorrect posts on like the protein value of broccoli, trying to say it was as good as meat. So they were basically indicating like it had a higher protein value than what it actually does, which they were trying to make a point with it. But the problem with that then is if somebody saw that and tried to base their diet on that kind of research, they could make themselves sick.
No, I wouldn't go with how you're going at it. My research would be more of just look up the vegetable itself and see what it is. I mean, you know, just like with meat, you can look up and see the qualities in the meat that you eat. And then it leads back into what we discussed earlier as far as how the animals are treated, how they're fed. Because you got your grain-fed, you got your corn-fed animals as well. So, you know, you go, you know, it's a research sign. Just do your research and then really dig your research. And I mean, you should be fine with that.
I will tell you right now, Reddit is not a reliable source. So
Absolutely.
don't go to Reddit for opinions on what you should get in a vegan diet if you want to try it, because you don't know who's posting it out there.
Right? It's only a good place to find where to get pump figures.
Exactly. That's a different podcast for a different day. So those are all really really great points. And interesting what you brought up, Andrea, is the thing is with how people talk about like broccoli having a lot of protein. And yes, it does, but I've done the research myself. It does not have as much protein as like chicken or turkey or your meat would, but it's the research is based off how your body digests it. Like it does absorb more of the nutrients, but it doesn't have a higher protein content. You need to get your protein from things like tofu and quinoa and your nuts and seeds, so there are ways to do it. So, because that's the argument I deal with all the time is when I can't get through one day saying I'm a vegetarian, the first question is, oh, where do you get your protein from? And I'm like, oh, here we go again. So I get it every single day. It wouldn't be a day if I didn't get that question from someone. And it's kind of one of those jokes I heard one time. It's like, how do you know if a vegetarian's going to be at your party? Don't worry, they'll tell you. And that's, and I don't mean to be that person, but when some people are like, I'll be like picking around, like at a cookout or something, people will say, oh, you're not going to have any of the chicken. I say, oh no, I'm vegetarian. And I have to not doing that because sometimes it can sound like self-righteous and putting other people down. And I really don't mean to be that way. It's just how I eat. Yeah, so those are a lot of great, interesting points. Now, here's another thing that I wanted to ask you local people, especially you, Emilie, because you mentioned earlier in the podcast that you do eat grass-fed meat.
Mm-hmm.
Now, where are good places in Columbus that, like, our audience, if they want to start doing the trend of grass-fed, like, where are some good places that you shop at and where you can buy them?
Well, honestly, I live out in Pickerington, so we have a lot of farms and
That's right where I am.
yeah, like local farms and
Yes.
stuff out there, and actual like local butchers that actually take care of their meat and their animals. And, so I buy locally out there. And honestly, Kroger.
That's right, Kroger
I mean,
does
like
have
these are
grass-fed.
simple truth. I mean, the grass fed, I don't know 100% the quality of that compared to like obviously buying local meat. But I grew up in Cleveland as well, and growing up, we had a lot of local butchers and stuff that we would go to that took care of their animals up there too. So
That's excellent. Now,
yeah, probably. Are you? I'm from Cleveland. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Now, I have a question because, again, I don't eat meat, but I need to know because there's a big argument about grass-fed.
Yeah.
Do you notice a difference, like, health-wise when you eat it, or is it like for other people, like, that might be wanting to try it?
I do, absolutely. For an example, like the grass-fed beef, my son loves tacos. We do tacos, Taco Tuesday or Taco Thursday in my house. But we'll do the grass-fed beef, and honestly, when you're cooking that up, there's a lot less fat and grease. Like the meat's a lot leaner as well in the grass-fed beef. So honestly, I feel that's a little bit healthier, and
Less fat is always
less fat
good.
is always good. Yeah.
I just remember as a kid, it traumatized me because my mom would always drain, when she'd cook ground beef,
Right.
like you drain the fat
Yes.
into an empty jar or
Right,
something.
stick it in the fridge, right?
And stick it in the fridge, and I would just be like, that's disgusting. And
Right.
she'd always say, I'm saving your arteries from that. And I've never liked red meat, so I think that's why, because I had to look at that disgusting jar of fat.
Oh, absolutely.
What do people do with it? Like, some people reuse it for, does anybody reuse it for cooking, or do you just throw it away?
My parents reuse the bacon grease.
Bacon grease,
Yeah,
I've
bacon
heard.
grease, yes.
Bacon grease,
I've
you
heard
can
the bacon
use.
grease.
Yeah, I've seen bacon grease.
Yeah.
We
I
use
love
bacon
that.
grease, and I think we use bacon grease to help our dogs eat dog food they didn't like.
Yes.
But, but and I mean, God bless their souls, but but as far as the hamburger grease, no, that always
Yeah.
got thrown out. And plus, when you buy the hamburger, I mean, they actually got different multiple grades of which is more lean and which is not lean, and then of course the higher the lean, the more lean it is, the more expensive it is. But maybe cool.
Yeah,
All
that's
right.
true. No, you're right though. It is more expensive to buy the leaner meat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I actually have an interesting topic. I wasn't planning on touching on this, but Andrea had brought it up to me before the show today, and I did want to touch on it because you said that you had dogs. Andrea has 2 cats, and there are some stupid arguments out there, like, have your pets have a vegan diet. First of all, cats are carnivores,
Right.
and dogs shouldn't have a vegan diet either because you'd be essentially starving them to death. So, Andrea, why don't you start off, first of all, since you've had to deal with this, like, what are your thoughts?
If you do this, you are a terrible person, and I hate you. There's not much
That'll do it.
Cats are obligate carnivores. Essentially, if you try to turn them into a vegan diet, you're going to kill them. Therefore, you should not be allowed to have cats, and therefore, I hate you.
Okay, I have a question on that. How in the world can you turn your pet into a vegan? I mean, what? I mean, is it?
Great
let me speak
question.
into the microphone so
That is a
it really
great
gets out.
question.
Where do you find stuff to feed your dog and cat to put them on a vegan
So
diet? I'm
apparently-
so curious.
Yeah.
And then on top of of that, how expensive, because now I work in a pet store, the PetSmart store here that's down at the Lennox. When that first opened, I plugged in the first phone line in that place. Yeah. And
Good job. Back when phone lines still exist.
This was so yeah, that stuff existed. But yeah, what, where, what, and how much is that costing to try to change a pet into a vegan? Go ahead.
So they like were making like, I saw a post online, you know, the glories of Tumblr, of people trying to like
Another
advertise.
not good source, not to interrupt you.
Basically they're
Yeah.
advertising like, oh, you can give your cats vegan food, and then basically they got torn into by everyone else being like, cats are obligate carnivores.
Right.
Like,
I have 2
it
cats, I'm
literally-
with you.
It's literally they have to eat meat. Like dogs, I think, are a little bit lean more towards omnivores, but cats are obligate carnivores. They have to have meat. In fact, the regular dry food that has like the grain in it is actually one of the things that could give them UTIs, which can kill them.
There you have
My
it.
cats have a very specific diet. Okay.
Her cats are brats, and they're very picky, and she works very hard for her cats. And they don't appreciate her.
I want the shirt that says, "I work hard so my cats can have a better life."
Rock on.
Amen. Amen to that.
It's a good thing I don't have kids.
Well, you still do the work hard part.
Yeah. Yeah.
And going off of what you were saying about the vegan diet for your pets, Google it. It's out there. There is such a thing as vegan dog food, and it is very expensive. I don't understand. Like you would probably pay more for it than you would pay for your human food. So I don't recommend it for anybody. Now, I am a proponent of feeding your dogs organic meats, like a lot of people have done, like grass-fed meats and everything for their dogs, and I think that's really good, especially for bigger dogs, like boxers and German shepherds.
It's more natural, right, too? I mean,
Yeah, and they digest it better because dogs aren't really supposed to eat dry food either, I don't think.
No, they eat
No,
dry
it's just not,
food.
They
it's
did-
not
yeah.
normal in their natural diet. Like,
Right.
just that
Do you
I've seen them eat dry food.
Do you still have dogs?
No, where I live at, we're not allowed to have pets. So I kind of hate that.
Sad.
Because I like cats and dogs have both as a child. But, I remember the days when dogs just ate rats. So, that was maybe it was just a ghetto thing, I don't know. But, that's why I used to see cats and dogs out there. And you could tell whose dog wasn't getting fed because they'd be, there go King.
Well, actually, I
Yeah,
think there is a digestive element to it. 'Cause
I know that, yeah.
Oh,
Buy like cat grass and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's why like my cats eat my bamboo plant.
That's right, they do. Okay, so before we wrap this up, does anybody else have any other comments on the panel that they wanted to put in before I go to our very last segment?
No comments here.
No, everybody's good? All right. Well, in wrapping up, thank you everybody again for being on the show. This was a great discussion, but I have one more thing I need to do, and I need to invite the man of the hour up on stage. Give it up for Mr. Brian Doney. I have a little surprise for you. Oh no, he brought his own. So Brian has a piece of chicken here. Do you have a microphone?
I do have a microphone.
Okay, let's wait for him to get set up. And while you're getting set up, I'm going to explain to him. So Brian's going to be the ultimate deciding factor of what's the better diet to have, whether you should be a vegetarian or if you should be a meatitarian. So he's got a nice chicken wing here, and I brought some delicious tofu that I made right at my organic kitchen called Angela's Kitchen, right in my apartment. Before you do this taste test, Brian, I need to know, are you vegetarian or do you eat meat?
So I actually don't eat beef anymore. Don't do that anymore. But aside from that, and fish, because fish are just gross. Because
We have had this discussion, yes.
Because they swim in their own poop, and I just can't eat that. So I eat all the meats except for fish and beef now. So I have had tofu before. I know you're not the best cook though, and tofu's really difficult to cook. So I feel like if I'm not gonna, you can pick whichever sauce you want after that comment. By the way.
Okay. What do we want to do to him?
You want this super
This one?
And actually, if you pick that one, it's perfect because that's the one I actually picked too. So we can
Okay,
actually
perfect.
do a real
So
side-by-side
I
comparison.
am going to be so horrible to you because you have to be so
Oh my goodness.
and we're dousing this tofu
Oh my
right
gosh.
now.
I don't want to eat all that
That's a
tofu.
lot. That is a lot.
I'm
of
kidding.
sauce in there.
Oh gosh. Oh no.
You got yourself into the own predicament of making
What did
fun
you
of my
want?
cooking. And you said you're willing to do it. So Brian, why don't you eat
What-
the chicken first?
All right, eat the chicken first.
Because you know how that tastes, and to tell people how good the chicken is, which you'll be having in a moment.
Right. Some just squirted into my eye.
Oh, jeez.
I'm not even kidding.
That's
Oh
what
my
you get for
gosh.
making fun
I'm
of
gonna
my
go
cooking.
get an eye patch after the show.
You know what they say about
I've
karma,
lost sight in
Brian?
my right eye.
Oh no.
This is how I have to look now for the rest of the day.
That's scary.
Round of
So,
applause.
warning to other acts.
Round of applause for the hot sauce that squirted Brian in the eye.
Oh no.
And now on.
Is that the karma for making fun of your cooking?
I was just
Yes,
about to say that.
now time for the tofu.
What did I do to deserve this? Oh wait, I organized
You're a
it.
terrible person. That's all we need to know. Did you eat the whole thing?
How is that
Oh,
sauce on there?
I'm just gonna take a bite.
Waiting in suspense. Like we just saw.
They're both kind of cold because I brought the chicken out for a little bit, like I was waiting in the wings. Someone got that.
You got it.
That didn't go over everybody's heads. Well, most of you were sitting down. That guy was standing up, so it hit him in the face. I'm gonna have to go with like, let's say I'm in a situation where I didn't make it in time for a meal, and like the food's cold. I would rather have cold chicken any day of the week than cold tofu. That's my prognosis right here.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Brian, for eating my cold tofu.
And I'm saying that after the chicken squirted me in the eye.
It's what you get for making fun of me. All right, well, in conclusion, we have differing opinions, but I just wanted to thank my guest today. I want to thank Brian for being my guinea pig for the taste test. I want to thank Andrea for coming in. I want to thank Emilie and Naterrius. Everybody had great opinions. This was a great show.
Thank you.
And thank you so much. And enjoy the rest of the day.